Oh, folks, the dream is still alive.
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Here we go, everybody. Another episode of Locked On Lions right here in the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Matt Derry with you on a Tuesday, July 30th and a Wednesday, July 31st. Thanks for making us your first listen, checking us out wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you to our everydayers who are out there that either watch on our Locked On Lions YouTube channel or listen. The everydayers are awesome. Appreciate all of you checking us out. One of our everydayers checked in today on our call of the day on our SpeakPipe at speakpipe.com/Derry podcast page. Leave a voicemail. One of our everydayers hit us up and we will play that call coming up momentarily right here on Locked On Lions. The show today brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Make every moment more. Playoffs have wound it down. All right. Unwinding. And here we go with really just baseball and Olympics going on. But this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long at FanDuel.com. Go there now to get started. Follow us on Twitter at Derry Speaks, at Locked On Lions, Matt Derry Facebook fan page. And again, thank you for subscribing and checking us out on our Locked On Lions YouTube channel. Coming up today, a major injury for one of the Lions that it appears is going to keep him out for the entire regular season. We will explain coming up momentarily on the show. Also, observations from day 6 at training camp, including somebody that I barely even knew was on the team, but Dan Campbell propped up in a big way today. We'll do our call of the day as well, but I got to start with this. Many of you, I don't get a lot of predictions right. I'm not good at it. All right, I predicted the Lions are going to go 10-7. I hope I'm wrong. Sometimes I say certain things and I'm not really great on, I'm the one that told you. But a couple days ago, I said this, and I put it on Twitter as well at Derry Speaks. I said when the Lions lost Michael Badgley for the year, that they're probably going to somehow, some way find a way to bring back Riley Patterson. And I don't know why I'm leading with this. I know the podcast is a little bit late today, and I apologize. Some of you are saying, grab the list. Well, here we go. Because remember, I always go to our kicker list. Going back since 2021, when Riley Patterson was on the 2021 list. Riley Patterson was on last year's list. How about Lions lose Money Badger, and the Jaguars within hours waive kicker Riley Patterson? Cam Little, the rookie from Arkansas, is banging through 70-yarders in practice. The guy looks like the second coming of Jason Hanson. Or, Jason Elam, or the Barr brothers, all right, or Justin Tucker. The Jaguars are like, we don't need Riley Patterson anymore, and they waived him. Brad's got such an itchy trigger finger right now. But Brad Holmes now for 2 days has not brought in another kicker yet. Jake Bates is the incumbent, the former Michigan Panther and UFL star, who, oh, by the way, missed 3 field goals in practice today, albeit he went 7 for 10, missed from 60, 54, and 50 in training camp today. But he's still the man. They've worked out some other guys, but Riley Patterson is available, and I think it would be hilarious if the Lions brought him back not once, not twice, but 3 times a matey. For all you old Saturday Night Live fans, 3 times a lady. Also available, by the way, John Parker Romo, who was with the Lions last year. He got cut by the Vikings, and James Turner got let go by the Packers. So take your pick of former Lion kickers. I just think it's funny. Like, it's the only negative you can really talk about with Brad Holmes, the kicking situation. It's been a circus for 4 years. Wouldn't it be hilarious if they brought Riley Patterson back? Come on, Brad, you can do it. Bring our man back. Come on now. So I'm not going to spend that much time on it. I want to lead with it because I've been dying to talk about it. And as you see on the screen, for those of you watching on our Locked On Lions YouTube, Riley come home. You know they got to bring him back. Come on. But eventually they will bring in a kicker to push Jake Bates. It's just a matter of whom. But yes, Riley P is available. So there you have it. All right. We had a big injury today in Allen Park. And this sucks because this guy has put in a lot of work. He's been a really solid member of the team. Yes, his roster spot was a little bit icy and iffy over the last couple of weeks because other guys have lapped him. He did not have a great year last year. But today, John Cominsky, the commish, was carted off at practice. Both Ian Rappaport and Adam Schefter are reporting that the defensive tackle, Cominsky, has a torn MCL, medial collateral ligament, and is likely going to be have surgery and miss 5 to 6 months. 5 to 6 months. Outside chance, might be back for the playoffs. God, that sucks. Injuries are a part of the game. Injuries are a part of training camp. Cominsky, again, did not have a great year last year, but the Lions loved him. A guy that was very active in the community, loved being here, and really 2 years ago played his butt off for this team. That Week 18 game against the Packers when he forced the fumble was awesome. But torn MCL, reportedly, and had to be carted off the field. Now, again, what does that mean? Well, number one, I would figure if Cominsky goes on IR, which he's going to, that the Lions are going to try and find somebody within the defensive line sphere and out there in the wild that they could bring in. Watch the name Kyle Pico. He has played very well. He has been good so far. He's pushed Broderick Martin a little bit. Obviously owns Enrique now, really has to step up. DJ Reader is doing everything in his power, as he told The Athletic yesterday, or maybe it was this morning. He doesn't want to go on the physically unable to perform list. He feels like he's trying to get back. But it's a little bit of a concern right now. You can never have enough defensive linemen. We learned that last year with the Lions, that they kept adding along the defensive line. They brought in Tyson Alualu last year. They had Quentin Bohanna off the Cowboys practice squad last year. They tried a lot of different guys during the season. They've got Matthew Betts from the CFL as well that they like. But keep an eye on certainly the waiver wire and what the Lions end up wanting to do. But that sucks for Cominsky. Injuries are a part of it. And that was a pretty major one today that was suffered by the commish, John Cominsky, who, again, has given the Lions 3 very solid years as a backup rotational player. And we'll see where this takes the team and what they want to do. But it's a pretty big injury. Torn MCL for John Cominsky. Tomorrow on this very program, Ian Eagle, one of the legendary broadcasters, one of the best broadcasters there is. Great play-by-play man for the NFL on CBS, also on Westwood One. Ian is going to join us tomorrow, talk a little Lions. Remember, next week, the Lions and the Giants are doing some joint practices in New Jersey, the home state of one Ian Eagle. And so we'll find out a little bit more about the Giants because Ian sees both the Giants and the Jets a lot, living in New York. And we're going to get some insights from him tomorrow on this very program. Jason Ross, who does the Lions preseason TV games and Big Ten football on BTN, and a local kid from here that really is good, got a great set of pipes. He's going to join us likely early next week to preview the Lions and Giants in the preseason. We are, what are we, a week and 2 days away from the preseason opener. Football on television, the Lions, which should be cool. I know we all hate exhibition and preseason football, but still exciting nonetheless because we've been waiting so long for it. All right, day 6 observations. Some guys stepping up, some other guys a little bit worrisome. And a name that Dan Campbell brought up that is in a good battle for tight end number 3. We will get into that coming up next right here on Locked On Lions. Locked On Lions today brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. We love sports. We love them so much. We never want them to stop, but the playoffs have wound down. We get fewer games going on right now, and the sports aren't sportsing like we want them to. But FanDuel lets you keep the sports going whenever you want. All you got to do is open up the app and dream up bets anytime you're in the mood. Today, look, if you bet against the Tigers the last 2 days because they've been trotting out bullpen guys, probably a good idea because the Guardians wiped the floor with them. All right. So we'll see what happens. But regardless, maybe those were baseball bets that you put in. This summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Locked On Lions, Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. A shout out to our everydayers who are out there who check out the pod. Love the new graphic if you're watching on our YouTube channel with Inside Lions Training Camp. Training camp, day number 6, another padded practice for the Lions, a little bit longer practice for the Lions today. And let's start with this as far as day 6 observations. If you don't know the name Parker Hesse, you need to learn it. Because today, Dan Campbell was asked before practice, who's the one guy in pads that's popping, that's playing well, that yesterday, Monday being the first padded practice, stood out. And Campbell, without hesitation, brought up the journeyman tight end who really made the Lions at a tryout, like a rookie tryout back in May, Parker Hesse. Formerly a defensive end at Iowa. So everyone's going to say, oh, tight end from Iowa. Didn't play tight end in college. He played defensive end. But he's got good hands. He had an awesome pick 6 against Nebraska his senior year. And he's been good. And you look at that Lions tight end room and you know this. Sam Laporta is the man. He owns that room. That's his room. He's one of the best tight ends in the game. Brock Tober, Carly Johnston's man, Brock Wright. You know he's number 2. But the battle for the number 3 tight end with James Mitchell, the Flying Zylstra brothers, Shane Zylstra, and Parker Hesse is getting interesting. Now, Hesse last year caught a touchdown pass for the Falcons against the Lions at Ford Field. It was like a 1-yard touchdown, little Desmond Ridder dump off to Hesse. But this is a guy with a very good blocker, can play like fullback, H-back, and tight end. Has good hands, and was blowing, people away in pads blocking on Monday. And Dan Campbell made it a point today of circling, his name, highlighting Parker Hesse. Now, again, we're talking about the 3rd string tight end. We're not going to go crazy here, but it's interesting because everybody figured, based off of James Mitchell being a Brad Holmes draft pick, Shane Zylstra having some success in the past, one of those 2 guys was going to win that job. But I know Jeff Risdon pointed this out at the Lions Wire. He loves Parker Hesse. He's a guy that has NFL experience, on and off the practice squad with Atlanta and some other teams, but has made a name for himself. And Dan Campbell made it a point to, highlight his name and talk about him today at his press conference. A little bit concerning. 2 players on defense, 2 young players who might not have had great practices the last 2 days. Number 1 is Stephen Gilmore, the cornerback, who last year was really, really good in the preseason. So much so that the Lions almost stashed him away all year on the active roster. They deactivated him for every game. He never was active. Maybe 1 game, but Stephen Gilmore was a guy that I think the Lions felt like we can develop. Same thing really with Broderick Martin. I'll bring up both these guys because Broderick Martin today also, Dan Campbell said, has been very up and down. I think they were hoping that Broderick Martin would really push Onwuzurike and be a guy that they're counting on when it comes to an interior defensive lineman, a nose tackle, whatever it is. And Broderick Martin's been up and down, has not been great. You know, that's the one thing about Dan Campbell, these press conferences. He's not BSing. You're asked about a player, he answers it. Broderick Martin, he said, has been up and down. Stephen Gilmore is another guy they expected more from. I think that the Lions felt like Gilmore was going to be a guy that took the next step this year. And in a very crowded cornerback room, he is not exactly stood out as a guy that has done great so far. So keep an eye on that. You know, there's guys he's battling with for jobs. Ennis Rakestraw, Khalil Dorsey, Kendall Vildor. You know, Campbell looking more from Gilmore. Let's read you that quote real fast. Quote, he's got natural instincts. He's pretty competitive, cover skills. And so he's one of those guys. Look, he's worked at it, but I expect more out of him. I think he's an instinctive player. So we need him to take a big jump into this training camp. And I would say to this point, after these 5 days, he's done a good job. End quote. All right. Saying all the right things, but wants to see more, certainly from Stephen Gilmore. I think he had an interception the other day. So keep your eye on that. Derek Barnes made a big play today. The defense again was kind of better than the offense on day 6 when it came to situational stuff. 11 on 11, 7 on 7 as well. And then, you know, as the offense kind of got going a little bit toward the end of practice, the one guy that stood out offensively today at the end of practice is Craig Reynolds. Yes, our guy. Come on, Craig, who's trying to win that number 3 running back job. Bam Knight is there. He's been a little bit banged up. We know about Sione Vaki as well, but Craig Reynolds had a pretty good day today. Couple of good opportunities in the passing game, blocking, and has continued to play well. Also, Doris Fountain, the wide receiver that we've talked about that has been completely up and down. Yesterday down, dropped a couple balls. Today back up. So he had an interesting day as well. But I talked to a couple people today that said, while he's been good, it's a long shot that he makes the roster, especially once you've got Antoine Green up and running, Donovan Peoples-Jones. They like a couple of the kids, Williams and Calhoun, the undrafted kids. It's still going to be a difficult, kind of situation for Doris Fountain. He's played NFL football before with the Colts and some other teams, but, it's going to be kind of a long shot for him to make it. Maybe could be a practice squad guy. We'll have to wait and see, but keep your eye certainly on that. And here's the other thing. The leaders, I've talked to a couple people down in Allen Park that just said, man, the leaders in this locker room and on the field, the Jared Goffs, the Aiden Hutchinsons, Taylor Deckers, Alex Anzalonis, these guys have just been awesome. And that camp is running smoothly. Nobody thinks their bleep don't stink anymore after making the NFC Championship game, and they're putting in the work. And that was one of the biggest things that I think fans were worried about was, man, what a ride and what a high last year was. You won 2 playoff games at home. Most Lions fans never seen that before. They had never seen 1, let alone 2. And the worry was complacency and not putting in the work. And the leadership with this team so far, the practices have been crisp. The padded practices have been good the last 2 days. And this team has done nothing but continue to grind and compete. There's jobs available. Now there's going to be another one with a Cominsky injury. And guys are just going to work. And that's all you can ask of this group. I think that there's a level of complacency that sets in no matter what. It's natural when you win 14 games the year before, 12 in the regular season, 2 in the playoffs. Like, hey, we know we could do this. It's natural. There's going to be the underdog teams come up and bite you. The Lions last year, people were like, is this the team? And they came up and they bit people. But now the schedule's more difficult. The division's going to be better. And teams are targeting the Lions. They're looking at this. The Rams are looking at that opener like, we got to go into Detroit and handle our business and pay them back. And, the Lions have got to weather that. I think they're going to. All right. Our call of the day. We hear from one of our everydayers. You go to speakpipe.com/dairy podcast page to put in your submission. Keep them clean, which most of you do, which we appreciate. Be nice. And we have a call of the day, which we will play coming up next, right here on Locked On Lions. Hey, I went to the Guardians-Tigers game Monday night. How did I get my single ticket as I went down there to hang? Just watch the game solo. I got it from Gametime. Gametime is the authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which means which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Gametime app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. Killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. I love just going back and forth with that view from your seat when I'm searching for tickets, so I know exactly where I'm sitting, what the view is going to look like, turning right, turning left. That's how it's done, folks. Lowest price guarantee or Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. That's what's great about them as well. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, let's do it, folks. Our call of the day from one of the listeners. We do this from time to time, which gotta love it. Gotta appreciate our listeners that are out there. And for those of you that know, a couple times a week, we do a call of the day where we play a voicemail. Today, our man Devin McKenzie checking in.
What's up, Matt? This is Devin from Detroit. Big fan from your 97-1 days and your Pistons post and pregame show days, man. So big fan, love the podcast. I'm definitely an everydayer. I wanted to touch on the fact that the Detroit Lions are doing things the right way. And being a fan for years, you've seen this team make boneheaded mistakes year after year after year. And now the Lions are at the point right now where they're almost the blueprint for other teams to rebuild their teams. You talked about how Arizona is trying to build their team similar to how the Lions built theirs. And I've been listening to a podcast for a while called the GM Shuffle with Michael Lombardi, who, former GM in the NFL. And he's been talking about the Giants and how their offseason has been a disaster, especially, watching them on Hard Knocks. And one of the things that he brought up on a previous episode was how the Lions built their team the right way, how they have a plan, going into the offseason. They make smart decisions as far as free agency based on, running models, and the Giants aren't doing the same thing. So I guess, did you ever think you would get to the point where the Detroit Lions were the standard, the blueprint for other teams? Thanks, Deez. Take it easy.
All right, there it is. Devin McKenzie checking in, and a great phone call right there. Thanks, Devin, for being our call of the day. It's interesting. He brings up something that Mike Lombardi has brought up, Michael Lombardi on the GM Shuffle podcast, which I listen to from time to time. Not a ton, but once in a while. We've had Michael on the show. The New York Giants are a circus. They really are. They're not a well-run franchise at all. Joe Shane had a really good first year as their GM, but it's been a disaster ever since. Their owner, John Mara, the son of legendary Giants owner Wellington Mara, has not done a good job owning that team. And it shows. And that's a steeped in history, historical organization, the Giants. Super Bowl champions under Bill Parcells. 1 year was Phil Simms. 1 year was Hostetler. Great defenses under Bill Belichick back in the day. The Giants have always been kind of a model of, the red, white, and blue colors. And Wellington Mara was a unbelievable owner, and his son has not been. And it's reversed with the Lions. Mr. Ford, God bless him, was not a good owner. His daughter is. And you're right. I mean, the Giants have the Daniel Jones problem. They've got the O-line problem. They lost Saquon in the division problem. Hard Knocks. You got Joe Shane's kid telling him who to draft on the show. Kid's like 12 years old going, Dad, make a move. It's hilarious. It's a circus. Yeah, when the Lions were on Hard Knocks, yeah, some people laughed at Dan Campbell's speeches and Jamal Williams, but like for the most part, you saw it being built the right way. And Devin's right. Like the Lions are a model of success all of a sudden. And it's only taken a couple of years. It's crazy. You know, the other day somebody was talking on a show and they were like, yeah, and the really good run franchises like the Steelers and the Eagles and the Lions. I'm like, somebody just put Detroit in the same breath as Pittsburgh, who for years made the playoffs every year. You know, the Eagles, who have just recently won a Super Bowl and had a great run, still are a really good team. And now the Lions are in that discussion. It does start at the top. Sheila Hamp hiring Chris Spielman, who then kind of had a vision for things in terms of the other hires and all the people in that front office and guys that have stayed, like a John Dorsey, like a Mike Disner, like a Ray Agnew, below Brad Holmes, coaching staff, all these former players that just come back to coach, the guys that have stayed like Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. It is remarkable. No doubt about it. All right. Ian Eagle, legend, going to join us tomorrow right here on Locked On Lions. Thanks for making us your first listen. Checking us out wherever you get your podcasts.